Dr. Lam, why don't you tell us about estrogen dominance?
So normally your body's estrogen and progesterone, as Dr. Jeremy said, is maintained by itself. When you have either too much estrogen or not enough progesterone, you have basically upset the normal balance. So in the case, for example, in a normal person, when you hit about menopause, the estrogen level goes down. However, the progesterone level goes down even more. So if you look at that, it creates an imbalance. This imbalance is oftentimes called estrogen dominance, meaning you look at the lab values is normal, but if you look at the relative ratio, it's actually too much estrogen versus progesterone because progesterone is just dropped, in fact, over more than 99%. So when you have estrogen dominance, you have a whole set of symptoms that is unexplainable by laboratory numbers alone. So it could be sweating, PMS, irritability. There's a lot of these issues that can come on. Huh?
And so we'll go through some of the causes of estrogen dominance, things you might not even have known, right? Some animal products are very actually hormone laced, as that's what they give the animals when they feed them. And that, along with pesticides in the factory farms, actually produce more estrogen-like properties when you eat the meat. And even plant pesticides. Many of pesticides are known to be hormone disruptors. And in addition to these chemicals lingering on the plant foods when you eat it, they are also added in the environment, and you don't even know when you pass by maybe an orchard, okay?
So we're all flooded in the sea of estrogen from food, from the environment. So on one hand, we have more estrogen, and on the other hand, our progesterone drops. So it creates this automatic response of estrogen dominance sometimes.
Yeah, that's right, Dr. Lam. And actually, some other causes of estrogen dominance can be xenoestrogens, which are actually found in multitude products and environmental toxins around people every day. Sometimes industrial solvents, commonly used products in our households, such as fingernail polish remover, paint thinners, carpets, cleaning products, and insect sprays, are just kind of a few sources of these xenoestrogens. So make sure you do your research in what you're using in your house, as it could be leading to estrogen dominance.
There's an app that I love. It's called Think Dirty, and you can actually scan the barcode of your cosmetics, of your detergent, of the soaps, and they give you a grade to see if it's actually good and it doesn't have any hormone disruptors. So it's called Think Dirty, and I use it all the time. And so other causes of estrogen dominance is something like chronic stress. And over time, the effects of chronic stress can lead to your exhausted adrenal glands and reduces the production of progesterone. And with the decreased levels of progesterone, then you have that relative increase of estrogen Dr. Lam was talking about. Another reason for estrogen dominance is just obesity. What other cells other than your adrenals make estrogen? Your fat cells also make estrogen, and that's why obesity can cause estrogen dominance. And other ones are like also vitamin D deficiency and caffeine can lead to estrogen dominance. So Dr. Jeremy, tell us about some symptoms of estrogen excess.
Dr. Carey, we've already mentioned some of them, such as PMS, swollen breasts, some tender breasts. You might find that you might be more impatient. Sometimes you're having clots during your period. You might have irregular or missed periods as well. And you might be overweight from estrogen excess as well. And so, Dr. Lam, why don't you tell us about estrogen deficiency, which is not as common, but it can still exist.
30, 40 years ago, as a woman enters menopause, the estrogen level, as we said, goes down. But at that time, the past two generations, there is no excess estrogen in the environment. People are thinner, they are more skinny, so they don't have the excess estrogen from the adipose tissue. So indeed, they go into estrogen deficiency symptoms, which can include things like hot flashes, dry skin, irritability, very much similar to estrogen dominant. So estrogen deficiency and estrogen dominant can present with very similar symptoms. And now this is a big problem, because as the society changes and as we gain in size and our environment become more toxic, we actually shifted from a estrogen dominance, a weakness, or estrogen deficiency to estrogen dominant. Now, if you have estrogen deficiency, you want to give estrogen. And that's why for many years, we put a woman on estrogen replacement. And it works fantastic, you see what I'm saying? But as the body changes, as the society changes, now the body itself becomes estrogen dominant. And you give even more estrogen and we didn't change fast enough, then guess what? The cells become bathed in estrogen. And as Dr. Carey said, what does estrogen do? Excessive estrogen can cause cancer. So therefore, you're basically putting more fuel into the fire. So the deficiency of estrogen, number one, can be similar to estrogen dominance. Edema, weight gain, headache, appetite changes, sleeplessness, irregular menstrual cycle, stop and go. All these things are all part of it. So how would you know? It's not just the labs. You have to look at the body, look at the history, and look at all the pieces that goes along. Then you'll be able to tell with relative certainty whether it is estrogen deficient or estrogen dominant, because the two are opposing. You don't want to step on the wrong path because it can become very, very unpleasant.
Right, so now we're gonna learn how to actually balance the estrogen. So if you're having a lot of estrogen dominance, what you can use is natural progesterone. And other ways to really combat this estrogen dominance would be to make some dietary adjustments, meaning you want to have a low-fat, high-fiber, plant-based diet, meaning if you do eat meat, make sure it's organic and not fed by hormones. And you want to cut down on the amount of coffee and tea and caffeine that you're taking in, and reduce any phytoestrogens that you're taking in. And so the other ways you can also work to decrease the amount of estrogen is by helping detox your liver. And that can be done through supplements that Dr. Jeremy will go through. And the other way will be to maintain a good weight and exercise, okay?
Yeah, so some of the supplements that you can use to balance estrogen are vitamin C, quercetin, fish oil, pregnenolone. DHEA is also common in balancing estrogen, and also pyridoxine can be used to balance estrogen.
Yeah, you have to be very careful. While these have good estrogen balancing effect, they also can be disruptive. Remember, if you have an adrenal fatigue and your body internally in the adrenal, the pathways are compromised, then even, for example, you give a pregnenolone, it flows down, but sometimes it flows in the wrong way. And so therefore, you don't get the desired result. So you can get paradoxical effect, you can get acne, you can get hair loss, you can have all kinds of symptoms that is not normally present in normal people. So first of all, estrogen deficiency, estrogen progesterone is already complex. You throw in adrenal fatigue on top of that, it just becomes so convoluted for most people. And if you are not fully literate and educated in how to decipher the intricacies, you can get thrown off very easily.
And we also didn't really talk about the supplements that would be able to help your liver. Things like calcium D-glucarate or milk thistle will actually help metabolize your hormones better, whether it's the estrogen or the progesterone. And that's why having a good, strong, non-congested liver is important to hormone balance also.
Yeah, unfortunately, in the case of adrenal fatigue, I hate to kind of throw it in again, but the problem is that some of these, with best intentions, they can actually cause things to get worse. Because if you have a adrenal disruptor and the body already has full of metabolites, and you throw more metabolites by removing with the great intention, you can actually cause a detoxification reaction. Okay? So these are things that we have to be very careful of.